Welcome back to the Content Swap Podcast. You are joined by Parker and
Aaliyah.
And if you're new to the Content Swap Podcast, this is a podcast in which we assign a piece of content at the end of every episode, engage with it for the week, and then we discuss it during the episode. So before we dive into this week's assignments, which you can see in the title of however you're watching this, we like to provide a little news update. So if you want to skip ahead to news update on life, we like to provide a life update. So if you'd like to just skip ahead to the content, see the description of wherever you're watching this to find the timestamps, and skip ahead if you're not interested in our lives.
Loser. Right. No, I'm kidding. I get it.
You just call our listeners losers?
Yeah, they don't want to know about us. That's lame.
Okay, well,
I'm kidding.
They're taking the time out of their day to listen to our podcast, so
I might as well listen to it all.
That's fair. But if you only care about Malibu's Most Wanted or Total Recall, go ahead and skip ahead. But yeah. Go ahead and take it away. I've said so much already. What is new in your life this week?
Yeah, so this week I have been, the weather here where we live is starting to get real nice. It's getting chillier. The mornings are like 60s now. Afternoons are in the 70s, which, it's getting me excited for spooky season. And I've created our October movie list, and it's a lot of movies that I don't typically watch ever. Which left me to be like, well, when am I going to watch the movies that I want to watch during spooky season? So I kind of started watching spooky season movies, and this week I've been watching a ton of Tim Burton movies, and I've been really enjoying it. I watched The Corpse Bride, which is like one of my favorites. I watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I have not watched that movie in so long, in years. Honestly, it's probably...
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka?
No. He did not direct Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Sorry, you said Tim Burton.
Yes.
Sorry. Shows how much I'm paying attention.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I have not watched that in years. Watching that movie as an adult changes that whole movie.
Really?
It is so freaking funny. Seeing Johnny Depp's face when those children say or do anything cracks me up. I'm like, he cannot stand that child in this moment, and it is hilarious.
I love when he keeps calling Mike TV a mumbler every single time he says anything.
That's what
he's like, mumbler.
I was talking to my friend Ashley, and that's exactly what she said. She's like, that's my favorite part. I like, because he always calls Veruca, he's like, all right, little girl. Like, he always calls her a little girl, and I think that's so funny. But it's like these subtle faces he makes that's just like, you see his disdain for that child, and it's just so funny. And I'm like, as an adult, you really appreciate... I mean, I love children. Don't get me wrong. I love children.
I love children.
Wink,
wink.
But, sometimes children can just be a lot.
Yeah.
Children can be real boogers sometimes. And these children in particular were such like brats. You're like, ugh. So his face was just perfect. And as a kid, I don't pick up on that because I don't know anything about like being an adult around children because I was a child,
Yeah. Okay, so you watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
Yeah.
Anything else that you watched?
I watched Edward Scissorhands. Love Edward Scissorhands.
Was all of this today?
No. I watched Edward Scissorhands.
Sorry, yesterday?
No. Today I watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Corpse Bride. Yesterday I watched Edward Scissorhands and Coraline. Coraline's not Tim Burton, is it? Is Coraline Tim Burton?
It's Tim Burton adjacent.
Yeah. Any stop motion kind of creepy. I'm like Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Even if it's not Tim Burton.
Right.
Did I watch another Tim Burton movie? I can't think.
You said The Corpse Bride?
Yeah.
I think that was all of them.
Yeah. I guess that's it. But we'll see tomorrow. It's another work from home day, so might throw something on in the background and yeah.
I don't know how you're able to get any work done with something on in the background like that.
Honestly,
I mean, I listen to podcasts, so maybe I can't talk.
As long as it's not like, as long as I'm not doing heavy reading, like right now I'm doing data analysis and like,
that's
it's like snippet, snip transcripts. So it's like, and I'm just kind of categorizing things right now. So I was doing that and I was putting together slide decks. So it's like, it really doesn't require too much mental energy in that sort of sense.
My favorite tasks are the ones that don't require me to read or write, because then I can put something like a podcast on.
Yeah. But like at some point tomorrow, I do need to do some lit review. And so like, that's when I just need like instrumental music or something, because I can't have words and be able to read.
Like an Oceanside Cafe playlist.
Yeah. Sometimes even that, like even that sometimes can be distracting. Sometimes I just need like ambient sounds.
Interesting. Like
rain.
And then like a in the background.
That's pretty good.
Oh, thank you.
Good job, babe. Yeah. Yeah. Or like, I like coffee shop sounds. I like the sounds of like the yeah, the mumbles. Yeah. I like coffee shop sounds.
Doors opening and closing.
And I especially love those websites where you can adjust, what you hear louder.
Oh, I didn't know that existed.
Oh my gosh, I found it there's a website I found during the pandemic. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called like My Coffee Shop or something.
No, I think
I told you about
me about this.
Yeah. And you can adjust like what is louder. You can like change change what sounds you hear and make it the perfect like concoction of sounds, coffee shop sounds that's best suited to your desires. And I loved that. I was like, wow. It was helpful when, we were in lockdown. And I was like, gosh, I just want something. I want to not feel like I'm just in this house.
That makes sense. Do you have the name of the website?
I feel like it was called like My Coffee Shop or something like that.
Okay, My
Google
Coffee Shop. Check it out.
Ambient sound website.
Sound mixer website.
Yeah, you'll find
soundboard.
I'm sure you'll find it. Yeah. But no, other than my little Tim Burton marathon, that's really it. I have rom-com book club this week and I'm only like 10 pages into the book. I have a feeling
you've been saying that every week.
I know. I have a feeling I'm not gonna read it. I'm still going to book club just for the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just very much struggling. I started playing Nuts, which I think last episode I said I was going to start, but I hadn't. And it's real interesting. It's real fun. The squirrel will literally be the death of me. You have to like set up these cameras to follow the squirrel.
This is a video game that you were playing on the Nintendo Switch?
Yes. And like a squirrel will go, so you have camera 1 you set up. She's like, put this camera by this tree and wait for the squirrel to come. During the day, you set the camera out by the tree. You put it out, you go back home, nighttime happens, and you watch the camera footage, but it only records a few seconds.
Oh.
And you see the squirrel.
What a useless camera.
I know. You watch the tape, you watch the footage, and the squirrel goes off, and she's like, well, figure out where the squirrel went. And I'm like, bruh. Like, I have to figure out where the squirrel went. So now I have 2 cameras that only give me a few seconds of footage. And it's like, I can't move the cameras. I can only set it stationary and leave it there and check the footage. So it took me like 14 nights to follow this squirrel because I kept having to move the camera to like in different locations. And there would be times where I would set up the camera because I'm like, okay, I think in the last time I checked the footage in the picture that I took, the squirrel goes off this direction. So I'm going to turn my camera this way because I think that's where it's headed. And that way I can catch it like going further. But then the squirrel would like do an unexpected turn. And so in my camera footage, it never pops up. And I'm like, no, it went a different way.
Is that the whole gameplay loop? Or is that just like one of the first tasks that you're doing?
Honestly, I think it's one of the first tasks. I don't know if that's how I don't know. That might be the
it
whole
took
way
you 14 nights. That to me sounds like that's the whole game.
No, but because so after I finished this task and finally got the shot I needed to get, faxed it over to the woman, and then it started with, she's like, okay, cool, I have a new task for you. Send me the new task, and then it starts back at day 1.
Oh, okay.
And maybe I just if anyone's played Nuts, maybe I just did it in a really inefficient way.
Sounds to me like you're not very good at this game.
Babe!
Okay, I guess my main question is doing that, did you have fun?
I mean, I was so irritated by this girl, but yes.
That sounds tedious.
I think I said girl, I meant squirrel.
That sounds tedious to have to do that in 14 nights, so I'm wondering, did you enjoy that?
I mean, I say 14 nights. Literally, it's like every time you go back home, it immediately becomes night. Not, you're not waiting for a long period.
But it took you 14 tries.
Yeah, it did take me
I'm just kind of hung up on that because if this is one of your first tasks and it takes you 14 tries to get it,
it wasn't my first task. It was like my third task.
Okay, but still.
Yeah.
I guess I'm worried if you're any good at video games. No, I'm just kidding.
No. I mean, I did have fun because at the end of the day, I was like, where did this squirrel go?
No, I'm worried. I'm worried if the game's design let you down.
I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I'm having fun and I'm enjoying it, but
I'm wondering if the game presented that challenge to you in a way that kind of allowed you to do it in the way that it wanted you to do.
Yeah.
Or if it kind of gave you the instructions and it was really kind of clunkier to do than they thought it would be for you as a player.
If it was a usability issue.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Because that's what I'm wondering. That was my thing, was am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it inefficiently? And it's just because I don't know. But then the game is the mechanics are so simple. You're only given a camera. That's all you're given. And you're only allowed to press these 2 buttons, play and pause. And so I'm
and you can move with the left. It's first person, so you can move with the left stick and then change your camera angle with the right stick.
You have to set the camera down, and there's a knob, and you click on that knob to move it around. But you can't move it from your house. You can't leave it and then move it.
Yeah, my point is the way that you navigate the world is that first person perspective, first person game. Okay. Okay, so you have the controls are that you can move. Yeah. You can orientate yourself in a 3D space, and then you can drop down a camera. Yeah. And that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm what would have been the other way to do this other than the way I did it?
All right.
I don't know.
Well, keep playing and let us know if you figure out how to get good.
Wow. Literally never talking about games with you ever again.
Oh, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I'm sure it sounds to me like it might have been kind of it sounds to me like it was either confusing and not presented very well, or it was actually supposed to take you 14 tries, which to me sounds like way too many tries.
I don't know.
Okay, well, anything else that you'd like to update on?
No.
Okay. Are you upset that I
No.
made it sound like you're not a true gamer?
No.
Okay. You're a true gamer. I know you game. I know you know how to play things. So that's why I'm putting so much doubt into the game. I'm 14 tries.
Babe,
why?
I'm not upset.
I know. Okay. I know I can't get over this whole 14 tries thing. I'm that just seems like so many.
It really wasn't that bad. It was okay. It was fun, you know?
Okay. I'm 7 at least.
It's fun because you're seeing the footage of the squirrel. You see each time you see the squirrel go somewhere different. And you're oh, now they went that way. Oh, now he went that way, you know?
All right, I guess I need to try it for myself before I start complaining. I guess I just don't know. Okay, well, anything else that you'd like to update
No.
on? All right. I'll try to keep my update short and sweet this week. 'Cause,
You say that every week.
yeah. I'm going to try.
And then you rant for an hour.
Okay. So, I haven't been watching anything new, really. We haven't really been watching much of anything.
Did you finish One Piece? The second go around?
My second go around of One Piece live action. I'm on the second to last episode 7. I keep watching it while I eat during lunch, and I realize it only takes me like 6 minutes to finish what I'm eating, and then as soon as I'm done eating, I turn it off and go back to doing whatever else I was doing, like playing a game or something. So, I've sat down to watch that episode like 4 times, but I'm only like a third of the way into the episode. But I've already seen it, so like, whatever. I'm not really rushing. But yeah, so I haven't finished watching that a second time, but I have seen it the one time, and it was really good. Yeah, so I've been playing a lot more PlayStation games. So like last week I was talking about how I started playing Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I was really appreciating how well made it was, and how it's like a great example of like a AAA premium gaming experience on the PlayStation 5. And so that got me in the mood to want to play more PlayStation games. I finished that Spider-Man game. I did enjoy it. It was really good. The gameplay was like practically perfect. The story got really good with the emotions at the end, but the final, like, the villain was not super interesting. It was kind of like this, like, best friend becomes a villain kind of thing. But I guess the motivation and how the villain's motivation was like kind of, it was well set up, but it kind of like came down to like they just needed to take a second to listen to Miles. And then they would understand like the mistake they're making, but they refused to listen to him. And like he lied to them earlier in the game, in the story. So they're like, "I'm never listening to you again. You lied to me. Why would I trust you?" Rawr! Getting angry, but he's like, "No, if you do this thing, you're gonna kill a bunch of people." And they're like, "You lied to me!" Rawr! And it's like, ugh. That I think that part was a little disappointing because it was just so like lacking reasoning, to the point of like, that could have been written better, I guess, to make it more nuanced. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that could have been better, but overall the game was good. And then I started playing this game called Viewfinder, which is like not even a narrative. I mean, it's got a story, but it's not really much of a narrative driven experience. It's more like a puzzle game where it's very short. I definitely recommend it to anybody that might be interested. I recommended it to my coworker earlier today. But it's a puzzle game where you're in this 3D space and you have to find your way to this endpoint, and it's like the puzzle is getting to the endpoint. And how you do that is you pick up photographs. You pick up photographs that have objects in them, and then you need to like rotate you put the photograph in front of your face, and then you like rotate the photograph to orient it to orient it so that the contents of the photograph line up with the objects around you, the geometry around you. Because then when you hold L2 to put it in front of your face, and then once you hit R2, the photo then gets added to the game. It's like, I don't know how to explain it very well other than like telling whoever's listening to go watch the trailer, and you'll see it and you go, whoa, that's really neat. Because it's like, it plays with perspective. Like if you put a picture in front of your face right now and then you hit R2, it's like everything that's behind the picture is now gone, and the contents of the picture have now, like in the depth of the contents of the picture, have now just completely overwritten everything that's in front of your face. So if I put a picture in front of my face looking at a wall, then like if the picture that I'm holding is of like a basketball hoop that's 20 feet away, the wall that's right in front of me would disappear. There would now be like a hole in the wall, and there would be like a basketball hoop far in the distance, like in the other room. So it's kind of like that. That sounds kind of like mind-bendy and really confusing, but I recommend watching the trailer because that will just completely do the concept justice. And it was really good. The game gives you a camera at one point, so like it starts you off with, you know, photographs that are like preset, and you kind of have to figure out how to use the photographs it gives you, but then it slowly starts to expand the mechanics and the puzzles. And yeah, it gets to a point where it gives you a camera and you have to take pictures of like parts of the geometry and then kind of like place them in other places, and it gets really complicated, and it was just really good. It was like a nice puzzling experience. So yeah, I really like that, and I highly recommend it. And because I finished that one so quickly, I decided to start playing another PlayStation game, and this one was Deathloop, which came out 2 years ago. I started playing it yesterday, and I ended up kind of just playing it all day long. It got really great reviews a couple years ago. I just hadn't tried it. It's from a studio called Arcane Lyon. They're based in Lyon, France. And the concept behind that game is that it all takes place like on this island where time loops every single day. Like the day just kind of gets reset. It's like Groundhog's Day, right? Or Groundhog Day.
Groundhog's Day.
Groundhog's Day. Yeah, it's like Groundhog Day in that every single day resets on this island. So it's basically just like one giant life party on the island, and there's 8 different, like what the game calls visionaries, that are basically like, you know, the 8 generals that you have to kind of figure out how to take out. And the game has like a morning section, an afternoon, morning section, a noon section, an afternoon section, and then an evening section. So it kind of like, it's got 4 different locations and 4 different times. The, you know, morning, noon, yada yada being the times. And so every day you can kind of go to a different location, like, oh, you know, this loop, I'm going to go to the complex during the morning, and then I'm going to go to like Upton, which is like a town area, at noon. And it's like based on which location you're at which time, different things will be happening. And the whole point of the game is to essentially like investigate each of these 4 locations at different times as much as you can, and like pick up as much information as you can to learn the schedules of these generals and the most effective way to figure out how to essentially like take them all out in one day. So like it requires quite a bit of like strategic thinking, and the game does kind of like, it does more to help you figure out how you're going to accomplish this than I figured it would, in a much more like linear way than I thought it would based on the concept. Like all the advertising kind of had me thinking like, I'm going to have to figure this all out on my own, and I don't know if I like that. But then when you're actually playing the game, it kind of helps you set up like the perfect loop of taking out all 8 of these people at like the right combination of how you choose to spend your day. So it's really interesting. There's kind of like, it's well designed in that regard. There's a lot to kind of like pick apart and find, and there's like lots of little secrets, and the fact that the level design has to be set up in such a way that it's like I could be in this space where there's just kind of security people in the morning, but then I could come back at night and that same space could now be like a party that's happening. And the fact that the game has to kind of like accommodate the same spaces but with all of these different events in a way that like plays really well from like a first person shooter, like tactical perspective, that also can accommodate like stealth and a range of different play styles, is really cool. So I didn't think that I would I didn't think that this game would resonate with me as much as it ended up resonating with me, because at first I didn't really like the game that much. I actually do have quite a few issues with the menu system that I won't really go too in depth on. But essentially, like, just some interesting choices with how they presented the tutorial, and the game's text is like really small, and I am just not here for all of these games that have just like abysmally small text on screen, especially when it pertains to the tutorial, because it requires me to like I can't read it. And it's like we have a 50-inch TV, and that's not even that far away from like the couch. And if it's that difficult for me to read the text with like the most average setup, I'm like, you need to do something different. And so many games have this issue, and it really like baffles me. I really don't get it. So I had to go into the accessibility settings and set all of the text to be bigger, and yeah, it just kind of drives me nuts. But that's why I like to play games on the Switch, because most games on the Switch are designed with just like the right font size. Yeah, I could really go to bat on this issue, but I won't go. I won't ramble about it any more than that. So anyway, I'm playing Deathloop now, and I'm still playing Chained Echoes, but I won't go into that because there's nothing really to say other than I'm still playing it and still enjoying it. And that is my life update.
Nice.
Thank you. So, let's get into the assignments.
Cool.
You're up first, and you are talking about
Total Recall. Recall, which came out in 1990. There's way too much in this movie, so I'm not going to go through everything. I'm going to set it up and then leave the rest of it for you all to watch on your own and take a look at. So this movie takes place in the future, year 2084 specifically. And this is a time in which space travel and like living on other planets is a possibility. So Mars is of particular interest in this story, and we learn that it's under the rule of someone named Cohagen, who controls this valuable resource called turbinium. And
I was going to say air.
No.
Yeah, you're right, turbinium.
And he forces the planet's inhabitants to pay for their air supply. So AKA, this is a bad man and very greedy. But we'll come back to this. So our story really begins back on Earth, where we're introduced to Douglas Quaid, aka Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is having these recurring dreams of being on Mars with this like hot brunette. And I refer to her as hot brunette for a minute. And his blonde wife is like, dude, are you dreaming about that brunette again? And immediately I was like, absolutely not. Clearly he's having this dream way too often. If that's her first response, it's like, are you dreaming about the brunette again? So divorce.
Goodness.
But anyway, he can't stop thinking about this brunette chick and Mars. And so he decides to go to a place called Recall, which is basically this business that can implant memories into your mind. And so he decides to go through with getting a memory implanted. And spoiler alert, he decides to get the Mars hot brunette spy package implanted into his memory. But before
the hot brunette spy package,
the Mars hot brunette spy package,
Mars hot brunette spy package.
Yes. Is that not what he got?
Yes. No, that is exactly what he got. Like, actually.
Yeah.
They, like, even said it on the screen. It was like, secret agent package.
Literally. But before they could inject him with the spy juice.
The spy juice?
Yes. The spy juice.
His fake spy vacation juice.
Yes. Before they could inject him with the stuff that would make him think he was a spy, aka the spy juice, like, all goes haywire. And he starts jiggling in his seat and, like, acting like he's already a spy. And the doctor who, was in charge of giving him his package was like, we need help. Like, help. So they get him under control by, like, knocking him out. And they're like, what the heck happened? And she's like, this man is a real spy because I haven't given him the spy juice and he already thinks he's a spy. So clearly he's been to Mars and his memories must have been erased by Cohagen.
Well, she didn't say by Cohagen specifically.
Well, no, but, like, who else would have done it?
Okay. All right. They don't know that. They're just Earth doctors.
Well, no, but she's like, the memory has been erased. His memory has been erased. Anyway, spoiler alert: it was erased by Cohagen.
I mean, we'll get into that. Keep going.
Yeah. So they're like, we need to erase his memory again. His memory's been erased a lot, it seems like. So they erase his memory again, and send him out on his own way. Well, they put him in a Johnny Cab, which is like this robot cab.
The Johnny Cab, yeah.
Which was so creepy. But they put him in a cab, and he, like, wakes up in the cab and is like, where am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? And so, yeah, so he just kind of has no recollection of going to Recall. However, word gets out that he went to Recall, and so Cohagen sends out people to capture him and to attack him. Except the people who are trying to attack him are people from his everyday life. So his coworker tries to attack him. And he's like, what the heck, dude? Why are you trying to attack me? And he's like, you went to Recall. We told you not to go. Like, you didn't stop. And he's like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're saying. Because, again, his memory was wiped at Recall. And so he just, like, murders them all. Then he goes home to his wife. And his wife's like, are you okay? What's up with you? And he's like, I don't know what's going on. People are after me. And then she turns on him and it's like, oh no, she's bad too. And so then he's starting to realize my whole life is a lie. What the heck is going on? Why are all these people after me? So he goes to a hotel after escaping all these people who are trying to murder him. And a mysterious man leaves him a package and is like, come get this package. I'm here to help. And he's like, okay. And so he grabs the package, and when he opens up this briefcase, it is a video message from himself, except the video of himself is calling himself Hauser. And he's like, this is Hauser.
This is Hauser.
This is Hauser. He's like, I'm you.
I'm you.
That's my body. Take care of it.
We should just be doing Arnold's voice for this whole segment. I don't know why we aren't.
It's too much. So yeah, so Hauser, which is just him, is like, your memory was erased and you were put there, and I need you to go back to Mars and defeat Cohagen and, like, save everybody in Mars. And so Quaid, aka Hauser, but like Quaid, is like, okay, I'm going to listen to myself in this video because I trust myself. I mean, it's me, and I'm going to go to Mars. So that's exactly what he does. He goes to Mars. So this basically leads to the rest of the movie being a big manhunt. So, you know, Cohagen's people, his minions, are after Quaid at Mars. We also get a run-in with the hot brunette from his dreams, who is a real person living on Mars, who he does in fact know, who Hauser knows. And there's a big plot twist, which again, we can talk about it later, or you know, you can watch the movie yourself. But again, it was way too many.
I mean, go ahead. What's the plot twist? Spoiler alert.
I mean, spoiler alert. Hauser is actually bad, and like it was a whole. Honestly, it doesn't make sense, and the movie was so long, and I was like, why are we even doing this?
All right, let me try.
Wait, no, give me a chance.
Okay. Oh.
Basically, Hauser is working. So Hauser works for Cohagen, and was. Nope, I don't got it.
No?
He was sent to... I don't understand. I don't understand is... Why was he sent to Earth in the first place?
This was all... Okay, so... Okay, yeah. This is where it's like multi-layered. Hauser was sent to Earth because Hauser knew the secret of the machine... that was built by aliens on Mars that could provide oxygen to all of Mars, the whole planet. There was a machine built by aliens like 1 million years ago that could provide oxygen to the planet. And Cohagen knows about it. Hauser discovered it, and Hauser was going to help the rebels by informing them of this and take out Cohagen. Well, give me a second. That's what he was going to do. And so Cohagen wiped his memories and put him on Earth. But then, which is like already like a whoa twist. But then it gets twistier in that it's revealed that Cohagen and Hauser were actually in cahoots and working together, and kind of made that like fake narrative to have him have his memory lost so that he could get Quaid, like Hauser as Quaid, could get into the ranks of the rebels who want to, you know, take out Cohagen and turn on this machine, without Quaid / Hauser's mind being read by Quato, who is the resistance group's leader, who is also psychic because of like radiation poisoning or something.
Yeah. I mean, not to laugh at that. That's a serious matter.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's
so like that. Yeah, they built this whole thing as a ruse to basically convince them to let him in so that he could infiltrate without even knowing that he was infiltrating.
Yeah. Once we lost Quato,
the puppet that was puppeteered by 15 people. That was a fact. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Once we lost him, I was like, my brain cannot handle anymore. Like, it's lost me. It's become too daggone much.
There was like so much. Like you didn't even. I just described so much stuff that like you were not even about to say because it was too complicated.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. The whole like as soon as I brought up Quato, I was like, oh my god.
No, see, I didn't. That's why I was like, I wasn't gonna bring it because it's like so much information that needs to be set up by other information because there's like 5 plot twists that like feel so unnecessary. But like that's why I was like, the plot twist I was gonna set up was like Hauser was actually working with Cohagen, and and that they were like against the rebels and against Quato, but I couldn't remember how, like, why he even had his memory wiped in the first place to like be on Earth. And I was like, if they were working together, it doesn't make sense that he would like they would send him to Earth and like wipe his memory. Like they were working together. And then I forgot the whole part about like it being easier to infiltrate the like rebels or whatever.
Yeah. But I will say the whole, like, oh, he discovered my thing and he's going to go tell the rebels about it, so I'm going to wipe his memory and go put him on Earth. That's like, I mean, the rebels, as if I was a rebel and I heard that, I was like, I would have been like, that's a little weird. Why not just kill you, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It makes for a more interesting movie. We don't need to think too hard about the rebels' perspective, because as a viewer, you're primarily concerned with Quaid's perspective, because you're going through this whole journey with him, and it's just fun and cinematic to have this guy have an established life and then suddenly find out that none of it's real, and then do all this like insane stuff on Mars.
It's absolutely absurd. Like that's just like, it's just so wild. It's so wild.
Well, did you like the movie?
I don't know. I liked the first half of the movie.
I think you will come to like this movie.
I enjoyed the first half. I love the whole like, oh my gosh, my life is a lie. What's the truth? I love that kind of like plot. But yeah, but then towards the end, it just got a little too wonky for me, and I was like, all right, now we're looping a lot. Like we're just doing a lot. We're overcomplicating, and this is not the kind of movie that I felt needed to be overcomplicated to enjoy it.
Yeah, no, it is like much more complex than it seems on the surface, but that's also kind of, I think for me, part of the fun. Like when you go into, like when you start watching it, you're like, oh yeah, what's this Arnold movie gonna be? And it's like, as far as Arnold movies go, this is like easily the most complex, because most of his movies don't have these kinds of elements to them, you know?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, for it to have all this like mind-bendy sci-fi stuff, but then also to have all of like, you know, classic Arnold action stuff, it's just kind of like it just kind of feels like it's got the most of everything, and I think that's kind of what I really like about it.
Yeah, I will say he has zero regard for human life in this movie, and it's kind of jarring. Like,
yeah,
there is a scene where he like literally uses just a bystander as a human shield, and it's just like, and it's it's horrible. It's so bad. That man gets destroyed.
Yeah,
shredded.
It is very violent.
So bad. And then there's later a scene where he just pushes a dude off the stairs. I was like, I get you were running. That man was not in your way that much to where you needed to throw him off the stairs.
I don't know. He didn't like throw him off the stairs, but he like pushed him down the stairs.
And he fell off
bit.
The stairs.
Oh, did he?
He fell off the stairs.
Oh, jeez. He's like, hey, out of the way.
I was like, bro, relax. Take it down a notch. Just a notch.
All right.
I'm like, you don't have to, John. This is not a John Wick situation.
No, it's not like they knew that. So, if you were listening, Aaliyah just gave me a look.
If you were listening, that's funny. But yeah, I don't know. I love the practical effects. They were really gross and fun. Like it's like The Thing, you know, where it's like everything's so wet.
The practical effects.
Yeah.
Well, so in this case, you're specifically talking about Kuato and like all the prosthetics on all of the people on Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah. The movie, when the movie transfers from Earth to then Mars, it does feel like a completely new movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it starts out like, oh yeah, man goes to work, and it's like slightly futuristic. Yeah. And then by the end of the movie, it's like
Spy Kids plus.
He's saving a Martian strip club from losing air. And it's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, I liked all the, like, makeup, the practical effects, the, like, puppetry. I am curious to, like, tell me more about this, how they did Kuato, because I'm like, they had this baby belly thing, but it's, like, on a guy's belly. Like, how did you puppet that?
Yeah, I mean, it's, like, it's all prosthetics, and, like, Kuato specifically was, like, there's, like, some internal machinery and stuff to get the movements down, but it did require a team of 15 people to move Kuato. That's kind of
the
all
little
I
baby
have.
part.
The little baby part, yeah, that's all I have on Kuato.
But like, how, like, what were they doing?
Moving dials and knobs and
inside.
Not inside, machinery. It's like.
So they're just like on standby on the side, just like pressing buttons.
Yeah.
Why do you need 15 people to press buttons?
Well, maybe there's more buttoning than you would think. It's a lot of little movements. There's a mouth. There's arms.
Yeah, I need to see it though.
All right, and you gotta like stand it up because
it's guy that he's the belly.
It's him on the belly, but the guy whose belly he's on, that whole body was fully replaced. Like you can tell, like the guy's head was like fake. When they were doing the Kuato scenes, like. There's a lot of that in this movie. Like, there's a lot of, like, full head replacements with, like, fake prosthetics. Like at one point, Arnold has to put this little, like, tube claw thing up his nose to pull a ball-shaped tracker in his head out of his nose, like, out through his nose. And it's doing like a close-up shot while he's pulling it out, but you can tell when you see it that his head is fake.
Well, yeah, because he can't do that. But like, is it a body and they're just replacing the head like in post-production? Like it's a real person's body and they're just replacing the head, or is it like nothing's there?
It's all just one big puppet.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. That's
okay. So the man is not there wearing a suit with this little baby, and there's little controls in the suit.
Yeah, the man has just been replaced with one massive puppet. Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
They couldn't.
So someone's controlling the whole big puppet.
Yeah, 15 people
and the little baby puppet.
15 people are controlling all of that.
Why don't you just say so?
That's what I tried to say. Because they can't just remove the guy's head in post-production because...
Why not?
Because this movie came out in 1990. They don't have, like, 2020 deepfake technology. So, yeah. I mean, there's a reason that there are so many practical effects in this movie, and that's because it came out in 1990.
I guess that's true.
It's interesting that you brought up the violence because this movie was actually originally rated X for...
What the heck is that?
An X rating. It's the rating like NC-17. We don't really rate movies X anymore. It's NC-17. Do you know NC-17?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just never heard of X before.
Yeah. X, NC-17. They're the same thing. But it was originally rated X for excessive violence. So they actually, the final version that's rated R is they trimmed the violence down. And one of the scenes that was heavily trimmed down was the escalator scene where he uses a random man as a shield, like you mentioned.
Justice for that man and for the guy who got thrown off the stairs.
Let's see. There's another thing that I wanted to mention based on something that you said. Well, while I'm finding that fact, I will say that at the time, this was actually the second most expensive film in history after Rambo 3, made in 1988.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much was it?
This movie cost $65 million to make. It had a gross worldwide of $261 million.
Wow.
Yep. This movie was also remade, and interestingly, the remakes. How much do you think the remake movie's budget was?
I'm gonna say 30.
So the original movie was $65 million, and then the remake was $30 million, you think?
Yeah.
The remake movie budget was $125 million.
Oh.
Yeah. And it grossed $198 million. So it cost more money than the original, and it didn't make as much money as the original.
I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, it makes more sense that it...
When you said interestingly, I thought like, oh, it must be way lower.
No, I just thought... Yeah, my bad. It's double, you know? Like, and the production values are just kind of like different. I mean, the remake was made in the digital CGI era, whereas this movie was like... The original movie was made kind of like right on the cusp of like... it was like one of the last Hollywood blockbusters to make large-scale use of miniatures as opposed to CGI, because CGI then kind of became much more of the thing.
You know what? I will say, I was so proud of myself when we were watching this. I was like, that's a miniature. And you were like, yeah. And I was like, oh, I am learning.
Oh, my God.
I was like, I'm picking up stuff from Corridor Crew. I don't know what rotoscope means still. One of these days I'll figure it out.
Okay, if you want to figure out what rotoscope means, just watch A Scanner Darkly. Have you ever seen A Scanner Darkly?
I don't even know what you just said. Watch a what?
A Scanner Darkly. That's the name of the movie.
Scanner Darkly?
A Scanner Darkly. That's the name of a movie.
Scanner Darkly. Can you spell that?
A space scanner space darkly.
Oh.
A Scanner Darkly.
You're like, watch A Scanner Darkly.
A Scanner Darkly is a Richard Linklater film that stars Keanu Reeves and Robert Downey Jr., as well as some other people. And it's the whole movie is rotoscoped, as in they filmed the movie and then they drew every frame, and then so it's technically speaking an animated movie, even though it was a fully acted movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But here's the thing, you know, I don't want to be intentional about learning this stuff, which sounds weird to say.
That does sound weird.
I want to just have watched enough of Corridor Crew. Like, I just want to have watched so much Corridor Crew and watched so many movies and had so many conversations on this podcast that at some point I just know it when I see it, you know? And I just know.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm not expecting you to go watch A Scanner Darkly because you need to take your lesson on rotoscoping.
I think that's cool. And like, if you assign that to me, that'd be cool. That's awesome. I want to see that. But that's what I mean. It's like, that's why I was like, oh, I don't know what rotoscoping is, but it's like, that's okay. One of these days I will. One of these days I'm gonna be like, oh, I know what rotoscoping is now. One of these days I'll be watching something and I'll be like, oh, that's what rotoscoping is.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Fair enough. I mean, I know I learned what rotoscoping was in like the 11th grade from film class.
You Cali boy.
Yeah.
We don't have film classes in my high school.
Anyway, so like I said, one of the last Hollywood movies to make large-scale use of miniatures as opposed to CGI, but also one of the first movies to use CGI and have it look photorealistic, namely the X-ray scene where they're walking in front of an X-ray and it's all like, I mean, you see bones and stuff and it's like all animated, but this was mentioned in the Corridor Crew episode that we watched about this movie, like way back when I even got the idea to write down that we should watch this movie. The machine that was supposed, like the software that was supposed to animate that X-ray sequence, didn't even work. So they had to do it all by hand.
That sucks.
Yeah, that does suck.
But worth it, because that was a great scene.
That actually, like, that's a great scene.
Yeah. I like the dog.
Yeah, there was a dog. There was a dog in that scene as well. Yeah. All right. So now I've been kind of like jumping around my list of facts. Now I'm just gonna give you all of the facts. Are you ready?
Yeah, you have a lot of facts.
I do. I feel like I got like a third of the way through the list of trivia before I was like, all right, like it was one of those movies where I was like, there's just facts on every darn little thing and not all of it is interesting. And I was like, I don't have the time to sit and read every single one to figure out which of these are interesting, because they do become progressively less interesting the further down you go. So
yeah,
well, I just kind of hit a point where I was like, why am I reading that? And then just decided to stop reading because I decided I already had enough trivia. So here's what I got. So the writers for this movie, Ronald Shusett and Dan O'Bannon, came up with they didn't come up with the concept themselves, because this is based on a Philip K. Dick short story. Philip K. Dick also wrote the story for like Blade Runner and Minority Report, and like all three of these movies do kind of like have that kind of connective tissue of like, and it's Philip K. Dick's just kind of sci-fi concepts that tie them all together. But Ronald Shusett and Dan O'Bannon worked on the screenplay for this movie in the 70s, but they at the time thought, this is going to be way too expensive and way too difficult to make. So they worked on a different project. They like put this one on hiatus. They worked on a different project where they kind of had to scale things back for that project. And that project ended up becoming Alien.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for that reaction. Let's see how many more wows I can get.
Wow.
All right. Let's see. Here's another one. This was kind of just like random, but I was like, all right, yeah, cool. No, like that's sweet. This isn't really about the movie, but while filming this movie, Michael Ironside is in this movie, and Arnold noticed that Michael Ironside was on the phone a lot between takes. So he eventually went up to him and asked him, like, who are you talking to so much in between takes? And Michael Ironside said that he was talking to his sister who was suffering from cancer. And so upon hearing this, Arnold like immediately took him back to his trailer and had a conversation with both him and his sister, like over the phone, to talk to her about like what kinds of foods and exercises would be good for her to keep herself like healthy while she's like struggling. Because, Arnold's a bodybuilder, he knows all this stuff about fitness and health. And so he gave all this advice, and Michael Ironside never forgot the kindness that Arnold showed to him, and neither did his sister. And that's like not even about the movie, but I thought it was cute.
Yeah.
Not a wow there. No wows here.
My initial reaction when you were like, Arnold was like, who are you talking to? I was like, why is he so freaking nosy? I'd be like, literally none of your dang business.
I've read Arnold's autobiography, and like, yeah, no, that does not surprise me. That he would like be getting in your business like that. Yeah,
I would literally be like, why do you need to know?
Yeah.
Like, my gosh.
Well, like, I don't know, maybe he's just kind of like making fun of him or something, like, oh, who are you talking to? And then it's like, oh, my sister. And,
my sister has cancer.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh my God, well, let's, I know things that might help, so let me help.
But he's also not a doctor.
Yeah,
I feel like
enough.
he should not give unsolicited advice.
Okay, well, they seemed to really appreciate it based on this one note I read.
That's great that it went down that way and that, everything worked out. I think I would not have had that reaction.
I think when I read this note and was like, oh yeah, like that's cute. I think the first thing I thought was like, Aaliyah's gonna think this is really weird. Just part of why I wrote it down.
I mean, obviously he is coming from such a good place, and so like, yes, it is cute and it's very sweet that he wanted to help. Now, if I were in that situation, I'd be like, oh, thank you. You are not a doctor though, so like,
It's 1990. They don't have the internet.
They don't have the internet. So Arnold Schwarzenegger's
yeah, yeah, he was a big bodybuilder. Like he had to learn how to eat healthy and stuff and exercise. So
All right.
like I'm sure like that is the closest resource they had.
Or a doctor.
I bet the doctors back then didn't even know.
They went to medical school.
All right. Anyway, back to the movie. This movie was filmed in Mexico City for its futuristic-looking architecture at the time. Now,
that's cool.
Yeah, that was cool too. However, everybody on the crew while filming this movie got food poisoning during production, except for Arnold and one of the writers. Now, the reason in Arnold's case that he did not get food poisoning was because he always had his food catered from the United States ever since 3 years prior he got sick drinking tap water in Mexico while filming Predator. So after he had that experience, he was like, doesn't matter where I am, I'm getting my food catered from the U.S. because I don't want to get sick.
How much effort did that take?
I was wondering the exact same thing, but when you're Arnold Schwarzenegger making a blockbuster motion picture in the year 1990, it's like that just to me seems like a money is no object kind of thing, But
like logistically, how?
Who knows? HelloFresh. He got HelloFresh meals sent to him, Like, I don't know.
Goodness.
Now, in the case of the writer that did not get food poisoning, he was already kind of a germaphobe and apparently would only brush his teeth with boiled or bottled water, and everyone on the crew would mock him for this behavior until they all got sick, and they were like, well...
I'm so sorry. Oh, that sounds like some mess my mom would do. Like, right. That's what y'all get.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
yeah. Apparently, Paul Verhoeven got so sick from food poisoning that he kept an ambulance on set towards, because this happened towards the end of production. He kept an ambulance on set so that he could administer fluids and medications to himself, nearby, and have that on hand, and still be able to film. Because he was that sick.
Oh my gosh. The fact they still filmed. I'd be like, it's over. I'm going home.
Right.
I'm going home. Honestly, I feel like, sorry, this is unrelated to the movie, but related to food poisoning. I feel like my likelihood of getting food poisoning is pretty slim for the most part because, one, I'm vegetarian. I don't eat meat, which I feel like oftentimes people get food poisoning from meat.
Eating meat, yeah.
And 2, I'm also a germaphobe. So
this is true.
I'm also very particular about things, like cleanliness of things, and not using tap water in places where they say you maybe don't want to use tap water and things like that. So, knock on wood, I have never had food poisoning. I
had food poisoning once 10 years ago, and it was either from eating steak or calamari from BJ's.
Yeah. And
I did not go back to BJ's for 5 years.
Yeah.
Because of that experience. It was awful. The idea of having to film a major motion picture while having food poisoning sounds absolutely terrible.
Yeah. I can only imagine. Literally, we went on vacation when my family went on vacation, and everybody got food poisoning when we came back from vacation, and I was totally fine. And they were like, "Are you okay?" They like all texted me.
Was that in Mexico?
Yeah, and they texted me, and they were like, "Are you good?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Not doing
Are y'all good?
Not doing a lot for
I think
the food in Mexico right now.
I think they got it from the chicken at one of the restaurants we ate at the like on the very last day that we were there. I mean, at least it happened on the last day we were there, you know? Like they got sick when we got back, not necessarily. It would be terrible if it was like the start of vacation and they were in the hotel room the whole time.
Or like you have food poisoning on the plane.
Yeah. Oosh. It was like everybody was good until we all arrived back home and then it started hitting people.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, well, back to the movie. Some fun facts. When they're on Earth, you see Coke advertisements, and when they're on Mars, you see Pepsi advertisements.
And Miller Lite.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem
Jack in the Box.
There was a Jack in the Box like right next to the strip club on Mars.
Sharper Image.
Oh yeah, Sharper Image.
There was lots of advertisements.
The movie's full of advertisements, but there was like a Fujifilm advertisement right next to like the Coke advertisement on Earth. But I am only here to point out that on Earth we drink Coke, and on Mars we drink Pepsi. That was probably intentional. I mean,
Mars was a little raggedy.
Right.
What's that saying about Pepsi?
And Jack in the Box. All right, other facts. So some of these other facts I knew from reading Arnold's autobiography. So I was kind of like having fun rereading them. So Arnold thought that the trailer for this movie did not represent the film's scope and its weirdness. And apparently TriStar, the production company, was or the publishing company, the distributing company, was struggling on how to market the film. So it actually only scored a 43% public awareness score at that time, which I didn't even know that this was a metric in which companies were using. But seeing that this movie only had a 43% public awareness score and Arnold really believed in the movie, he sat the film's producers down, made them watch the movie, and then watch the trailer, and that's when they realized, like, okay, yeah, we are really selling this movie short, and so they cut a new trailer and reapproached their whole marketing campaign with a bigger budget, and by the time the movie opened, it had a 99% public awareness score.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is not, like, based on what I've read about Arnold, like from, I guess, like the 80s to early 2000s, like he very much was like involved with talking to producers and having like a hand in stuff like this. Yeah. And it kind of makes me think about like a lot of like what The Rock does now. Almost like The Rock is like the next generation of Arnold. Yeah. All right, some other facts. When filming the fight scene between Laurie, who was his blonde wife, and Melina, the brunette, Paul Verhoeven requested the second unit director to not choreograph their fight as a cat fight, but rather two warriors in a martial arts fight.
Nice.
And Verhoeven thinks like this may be one of the first time, like in a major motion picture, where two women fighting is not depicted as a cat fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, points to that. What else? The movie. Speaking of Arnold and the production company. The movie was actually originally going to be made by a different production company with Patrick Swayze starring as Douglas Quaid, but the company went bankrupt and Arnold convinced his producer friend to buy the movie rights off of them. And that's how he was just like really interested in the script, and he was also really interested in working with Paul Verhoeven after Paul Verhoeven just made RoboCop. And so it just kind of ended up being this like perfect thing where they got to work. He got the script and he got Paul Verhoeven and they made the movie. Now, at the end of the movie, it is meant to be left open to the viewer's interpretation of whether or not the events of this movie are real or actually a dream of like after he goes to recall to get the secret agent vacation, that like this basically is that memory that he got implanted. It's supposed to be kind of left open because they say like, oh yeah, you're gonna have the brunette, you're gonna go to Mars, you're gonna
is that even a thought that crosses people's mind at the end of this movie?
Yes,
I literally was not thinking that.
I was like, when you watch the movie, it's like that. It kind of is the cutoff point of like, because there's a lot of characters in this movie saying exactly what is going to happen in the movie. So one example of that is like the salesman who, when he goes to recall, the salesman is selling him this trip and he to Mars specifically, and he's like, yeah, get the secret agent package, you'll get the girl, you'll kill the bad guys, and you'll save the entire planet. And then when he decides to get the operation, when the like Arnold is kind of strapped into the chair, the doctor that's like performing the procedure hands the med tech a computer chip, and that med tech says, oh, that's a new one, blue sky on Mars. Which, when at the end of this movie, when Arnold releases, all of the air into Mars' atmosphere, the sky turns blue. And so that was kind of like the med tech, before they even started the operation, was like, oh yeah, the sky's going to be blue on Mars. And then later on in the movie, when this guy comes to Arnold's hotel room when he's on Mars, and it's like a ploy by Cohagen to kind of like confuse him into thinking that he's still back at recall. That guy is like describing to him verbatim like what's going to happen. Like, if you shoot me, you're gonna find out that you're like best friends with Cohagen and yada 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 yada. And like that is what happens. He finds out that he's best buds with Cohagen. So there's a lot of just like, yes, it's supposed to be left open of like, is it real or is it a dream? And at the very end of the movie fades to white, and that was an intentional decision to make it like, oh, was it a dream, and did he get lobotomized? Like, they kind of said that he might get lobotomized. It's open to your interpretation. And that's kind of like part of the fun. It's either, yeah, he showed up and he already had his memory wiped and it kind of threw the whole thing off, and now everybody's after him because he wasn't supposed to do that, and then this whole thing happens. Or he shows up to get this fake vacation, and then we get to just watch the fake vacation.
Got you. I guess I was just so mentally exhausted by the end of it that I just like, it ended and I was like, it's over. I just had no other thoughts. I was not reflecting. I was not like, was it all real? Was it all fake? I was like, it's done. Moving on. Well,
all right, fair enough. I mean, it's a very wild movie. There's so much stuff going on.
There is. But that's, I'm like, it's so, there's so much that I feel like things get lost. You're just like by the end of it, I forgot all about recall. Like, I wasn't thinking about recall. I wasn't thinking about that fact that he went there to get this package. Like, I wasn't thinking about any of that. Like, I don't know. It's just so much.
I don't know. I really like this movie. Like, when we were watching it, I consciously thought to myself, wow, I really like this movie.
Yeah. I didn't dislike it. I liked the absurdity of it all. But I think what I wanted was it to just be absurdity. I didn't want it to have so many intricacies and so many layers. And so, like, it was too complex for what I was looking for in the way that it visually looks. Like, I just wanted it to be a wild, fun ride, and it ended up being too much to follow.
It is a wild, fun ride in that there is so much stuff to follow. I mean,
but it started to
me,
be,
it's like it's both. It's everything. It's action. It's mystery. It's mind-bendy. It's romance, maybe. Like it's everything. It's sci-fi. It's everything.
Yeah. I think that's just where we differ. Like, if I'm going to watch something that's as absurd as this, I don't want 5 different plot twists. I don't want all this, like, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Like, making you think all this. Like, just be absurd. Just, like, be crazy. Just be wild. Like, just
I mean,
go off the rails.
There are so many parts that are absurd and crazy and off the rails.
Yes.
Like, when he shows up to Mars, he's disguised as, like, a woman, and then he, like, takes this whole, like, woman mask head off, and then, like, it ends up being a bomb, and the woman head mask, like, is like, get ready for a surprise. Yeah. And like that's all weird and kooky.
I know, and that's fun, and that's great, and that's why I'm like, those are the parts that I loved about it. What I didn't like is this whole plot twist reveal part. Like, I just want the absurd, and I don't want to have to think too much about it. And like towards
that's
the
thing.
end,
I think this movie accommodates. Okay, I mean, I think that's what's good about this movie is that it can be dumb and smart. It's like, do you want to watch this movie as a dumb movie? Go right ahead. Do you want to watch this movie as a smart movie where it makes you think a little bit? Go right ahead. You can have both experiences.
But is it smart is my question.
I mean, I think the plot twist intricacies was well done. I followed it.
I feel like having a bunch of stuff doesn't automatically make it smart. Being complex doesn't make it an intelligent movie.
Well, I thought the whole like memory wipe plot twist, he was actually, the original him was a bad guy the whole time, and they did the memory wipe thing to get past the psychics. Which sounds absurd out loud because it is, but like I thought that was kind of like a smart thing. Like that was not a thing that I remembered.
Yeah.
So seeing it, I was like, oh wow, like that actually makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
But yeah, I was a very small child when I saw this movie the first time.
Yeah.
And seeing how violent this movie is, definitely too young.
Yeah.
But like when I saw this movie, I was just like, I was enamored with it. I was like, there's just so much, like, what a crazy movie.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was so unique. And it's like 20 minutes before it's revealed that his wife is like not even his wife. But like 20 minutes as a child is like a million years. So when his wife was revealed to like not be his wife, I was like, oh my God. Like that's like if I found out my mom wasn't really my mom. And so this movie had just like such an impact on me. I think this was probably the first time I like heard the F word, and probably the first time I saw like naked bodies other than like my own mother other than
my own mother.
Okay, that sounded really weird when I said it. But you know what I meant, though.
Yeah.
Because you're very, very when you're a very, very, very small child.
Yes,
anyway,
we get it.
I don't need to clarify that. Yeah, no, it was an eye-opening experience through and through. The first time I saw it, and it's just I haven't really watched it very much since then, but so much of it stuck with me that I remembered. So I was really stoked to watch this, and I'm glad we did. I'm like, yeah, no, it holds up in my memory, like it does in my memory.
Yeah. Well, speaking of movies we probably shouldn't have watched too young, do you want to go ahead and transition into a movie I watched way too young?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So this week I was assigned a movie called Malibu's Most Wanted. What year did this come out? Was it 2003? 3? Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I think.
So, whew, I totally forgot the style in which I wrote my notes for this movie. So buckle up for this, and hopefully it's not cringe, and hopefully I don't offend anyone.
Oh no. It's never good when you have to start with that.
Yeah. So Malibu's Most Wanted follows the exploits of B-Rad. He's a hustler from the streets of Malibu. He's got his homies that roll with him, and they run the streets of Malibu. He's also a freestyle rapper with a wicked flow. His dad is running for governor of California, and he's mad passionate about helping out his dad's campaign by doing live performances, creating some buzz, generating some signage to support the campaign. His dad's campaign sign wants to say something like "Women for All" or something like that. Nah, he's gonna liven it up, and he's gonna say something like, whatever his dad's name is down with the B's and the H's, So one day, B-Rad meets a nice honey at the coffee shop, and her name.
Sorry.
I told you how I wrote this. I warned you. He meets a nice honey at the coffee shop named Chandra, who wants to connect him with Dr. Dre. But on the way there, they get held up by these guys that want to hold him for ransom. So these guys try to hold him for ransom, all the while having fun with him, like making him hold up a supermarket or perform a freestyle rap at open mic night. But B-Rad totally chokes at open mic night, and everybody starts clowning on him. Not chill, guys. Not chill. Well, as it turns out, these guys aren't even legit. They're not even actual real guys that are trying to hold him for ransom. They were actors hired by his dad to try and scare him straight, so that he'll stop being himself and start acting like the proper son of a gubernatorial candidate. So B-Rad starts to feel betrayed when he finds out, especially because he's been bonding with these guys and even teaching them some of his Malibu street wisdom. So as he's trying to figure out what's real and what's fake, B-Rad faces some very challenging moments. He actually ends up getting caught up in a gang war between rival crews, and he scares them off with what he thinks are fake guns that actually end up being real guns. But all the while, he's just out here trying to stay true to himself. So because of his display of violence at the gang war, one of the gangs wants him to start running with him, but he was also put on the news and lauded as a big bad gangster. So his daddy, being worried about him, steps up and drives their Hummer through the gang's house to try and retrieve him. And similarly, B-Rad's homies from the set come back to back him up. Now, him and his dad then reconcile the differences, and his homies accidentally blow up that gang's house. But he gets to keep rapping to support his dad's campaign, and he gets with Chandra and helps her open a beauty studio, and all works out.
Wow.
How did I do?
That was something. That was something.
I'm sorry. So the reason I gave the plot description like that was because I was trying to kind of tell it from B-Rad's perspective.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing about Malibu's Most Wanted is that, B-Rad is just like this extremely privileged white kid who thinks he's black. And he is like fully appropriating the culture with absolutely every single thing that he does, which makes this movie extremely problematic and very 2003 in its approach to humor.
Well, but it's also got a deeper mesh. Like, that's the point. The point is this idea of cultural appropriating. The point is also calling out stereotyping and typecasting, like assuming that all black people are, gangsters and things like that. Like, so while while the execution still does not hold up, like they don't execute that message perfectly, and it's still problematic in some of the ways that it tackles these things. There is like a self-awareness, and there is like, that's the whole idea about B-Rad. The whole idea is like, we're gonna talk about white people doing this thing, and like that's that.
Right on.
So it's
that is a really good message, because like that is something that just like happens so much with like a lot of things that are popular. Like a lot of people will say that like a lot of like memes that become popular are actually originating from Black Twitter, and they're like then getting picked up by like everybody else, and everybody else starts using those jokes, and it's like, and nobody even knows where they came from, but it was like ultimately like a black meme author that came up with the joke or whatever. And that just happens, that in and of itself, as like a daily occurrence of humor's transformation on the internet, is like the perfect metaphor for just like a lot of appropriation that happens to the Black community. And this movie does make a pretty solid commentary about that, now that you have brought that up. One of my favorite things of this movie, like this movie is hilarious, and it's super cringy, but ultimately it is like hilarious. And like,
my bad.
Two of my favorite, like the two actors that have to like kidnap him and pretend to be like it's Taye Diggs and Anthony Anderson, and like their characters in the movie are actors, like, and actors in the sense of like, I am an actor,
like I went to Juilliard and I studied film and blah blah blah,
right? And then they have to like pretend to be like gangsters from Compton, and watching them like, even like watching them as they are like at their core prim and proper, like trying to figure out how to act like they're from like a less well-off community, is hilarious. Like watching Taye Diggs like really try to examine like the role, and because it's like he doesn't understand it, but like the stereotype in Hollywood would be that like he as an actor would probably like get placed in a lot of those roles, but this is like flipping it on its head and having him be this like proper fellow who has to like figure out like, how do I get into the mindset of being in that role, and then just like watching him just kind of go through it, where he's like practicing in front of Anthony Anderson, and he's like trying to get like the delivery of the B word out while like pointing guns.
It's just dumb.
It is just so funny to me, like because the way that he's saying it, like he's
so goofy.
He's speaking with like perfect grammar, which just makes watching him try not to so funny.
It's him putting on that wig. It has me dead. Yeah, no, it's so silly. It's so silly. But like, I mean, yeah, like I said, it's like a legitimate thing of like, especially, I feel like especially back in the early 2000s, like 90s, early 2000s, where I feel like in Hollywood, a lot of the roles for Black people, especially Black men, were roles where they're, playing like a gangster or whatever, like somebody from the hood or whatever. And so like that was what was available, and that was just like expected, and like you would just be typecast as that. So I feel like that this is just like a portrayal of that in this movie, or like pointing that out in this movie. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it goes even deeper than this, but that's my take from this movie.
Yeah.
But it's also just funny to watch to watch them do it. To watch them like go through this whole thing and just be silly and stupid, and they're terrible actors.
Right.
Like, it's just wild. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the movie. That was all the notes that I had on the movie.
Yeah. I feel like so this movie, like I said, it's supposed to be satire. It's supposed to be a parody, and I'll get into that a little bit more in just a second with facts.
I think like we were just much more comfortable with being funny about racial satire in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Like Kal Penn is in this movie, and Kal Penn plays like other notable role for Kal Penn is Kumar and Harold and Kumar, like those movies. And Kal Penn's character is one of B-Rad's friends from Malibu.
Yeah.
And he speaks with this like very stereotypical like Middle Eastern accent. And like when all of them show up at the end of the movie to like protect B-Rad, he's got like an RPG rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Which is like
in poor taste.
Yes.
Very
poor taste.
Yeah. It is, like I said, it is not executed perfectly. There's still very much a lot of really problematic things. The part about the movie that I don't like, that my least favorite part about the movie is like the way they treat Chandra in the movie. Chandra is like my favorite person in this whole movie. She's just like such an amazing character, such an amazing woman, and she's pretty much used throughout the whole movie. She's just like Taye Diggs and Anthony Anderson used her to, you know, get whatever to complete their task with B-Rad.
Yeah.
B-Rad kind of treats her as an object and is like fetishizing her pretty much. And at the end of the movie, he like wins her, which is also kind of like it's like it's just like fetishized her.
Not at all clear how that even came to be. It just kind of happened.
Yeah. And then like other men, main like the kind of like main villain in the movie, like physically grabs her often, like treats her as like property of like she's mine, is very possessive, and it's just like everybody kind of treats her terribly, and like there's really no commentary on that. Like that's not like part of this deeper quote unquote deeper message. It's just like expected. And that part I really hate, because it's like, no, this is an actual issue. And like they just wrote it because that's just like life.
Yeah. I mean, it is always really interesting, not always in a good, well, it's never in a good way, but always interesting to just see, I guess, where the culture was when watching these older movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even when watching Total Recall, there's like there's a female character. I wasn't gonna bring this up, but there's a female character in Total Recall who has 3 breasts, and supposedly the actress that played that character was like so ashamed, like felt very like they weren't real, but she felt so like embarrassed by that role and like humiliated as if she was showing her real breasts, and like she felt degraded and refused to do publicity for the movie. And that's like, but everybody remembers that character, and nobody thinks about like, you know, the actress that was like on the verge of tears while filming you know, that role. And it's like just the, yeah, I guess my point here being that like we've come a long way since even just like 20 years ago when it comes to like supporting women in film, but there's still like so much work that needs to be done.
Yeah, I feel like unfortunately, I feel like we haven't. I feel like we really haven't.
We've come a way. How's that?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I won't dive deep into it. I won't get on my soapbox.
I mean, there's even like when we watched Scream Queens, and we talked about that last week. That was made in like 2008. And it's a reality show where aspiring female actresses are competing to get a role in the latest Saw movie, and they have to like degrade themselves to like do sexy stuff in order to get a role. And that was like 15 years ago. So like, yeah, I mean, it genuinely doesn't feel like we took a serious shift towards like doing right by women in film until like the Me Too movement in 2017. Which is kind of crazy because it was 6 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I still need to see more progress.
Yeah, we all do.
in so many ways. In so many ways. But yeah. That's really sad to hear about that woman in that scene in Total Recall.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up. Because it would be too much of a downer, but it fit with what you were saying.
That's super sad. Oh, my poor, like my heart breaks for her. It just like, yeah, and honestly that scene feels so unnecessary. And like, I don't know, and maybe because I am a woman, I just like seeing that scene, like I wasn't like, oh, whoa. Like it was just like, okay. And we moved on. And so it's like to think that like that was a scene that's like everyone's like, oh my gosh, is like everybody, a body's a body. It's a body.
Well, yeah. No, I mean like everybody. My point is that like everybody remembers that.
Yeah. You know? Well, but like
I was a small child the first time I saw that, and I was like, whoa. But I always remembered it.
But like, I mean that's just especially in the U.S. like. The female anatomy, like
right.
The way that we are just socialized, it's like when you see a female body, it's like, oh my gosh, scandalous, you know? That's just how we're socialized. And so the whole reason that that's even in there is to create that shock factor, or else they wouldn't have put it in there because it wouldn't have mattered.
Right.
But like for me, and I'm sure this is just because I am a woman, like it's like, it's a body. Like everyone calm down. Like
I mean, yeah,
like, it doesn't need to be in here. Like
I mean, it's a body, but it's like I mean I'm not defending any choices made by the filmmakers, but from the filmmakers' perspective, I'm sure it's like, you know, it's a body and there's so many other bodies that are being portrayed in different ways with like prosthetics on their heads and all this stuff because of like the radiation and stuff. Yeah. So, you know, showing somebody with 3 nipples instead of 2 is like, yeah, that shock factor. Like, whoa.
Yeah. It just sucks because it's like.
But that's also for the male gaze.
Yeah. It's like the purpose, whether it was conscious or not,
it felt very conscious.
Like, yeah, it's like to objectify.
Right.
To objectify.
Right.
And that is so icky. It's super icky. Because the other people with prosthetics, it was like their face, you know, their face had something on it or whatever. Or like the back of their head had like teeth or like, you know, like something like that.
Yeah.
But this woman had to have 3 breasts.
You know,
anyway.
When the scene is set in a strip club and everybody's got, weird body things going on, it's like, of course they were going to.
But she was the only one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it probably cost too much money to do it for everybody. Anyway, my point isn't to defend it, but
yeah.
I mean, you know, didn't even need to be set.
I was
gonna say,
why was it in the first place?
Yeah,
why did we need the strip club? That's the thing.
Because it makes it more weird.
Could have just been a bar.
The whole movie is weird.
Could have been a bar. Anyway, we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
So back to Malibu's Most Wanted.
So they let Chandra down as a character.
Yeah, my girl deserves better. She deserves much better. Anyway, so some fun facts. So I was actually kind of surprised by the rating of this movie on IMDb. Do you want to take a guess at what it is?
Does it start with a 7?
No.
Okay, it starts with a 6.
No.
4?
No.
5?
Yeah.
5. Okay, no, this makes perfect sense to me.
Really? I thought it would be lower.
Oh, really? What is it, like 5.8?
5.2.
5.2?
Yeah.
Oh.
5.2 out of 10.
Oh, I thought it would be higher than that.
Really?
I thought it would have been like a 5.9.
I thought it would be lower. I thought it was going to be like 2, 3.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it shocked me.
That's surprisingly low for how much it felt at the time like the movie was permeating the zeitgeist. Like when you refer to Malibu's Most Wanted, I feel like most people know what that is.
Really?
Well, you know, I thought the same thing about Hot Rod. Turns out nobody knows what that movie is. So.
I don't know anyone who knows about Malibu's Most Wanted.
Oh, no, I mean, I totally knew about this movie. I remember being like, I'm Malibu's Most Wanted. I was like 9 years old.
Really?
And in the trailer, he's like, where'd you learn that from? He's like, Grand Theft Auto 3. I was like, haha, hey, I know Grand Theft Auto 3.
You were doing way too much at way too young of an age.
I turned out okay. I'm not saying we should expose our children to, you know, things that they're not ready for, but I'm just saying in my case, I'm all right.
Looking at alien movies where they have 3 breasts, talking about playing Grand Theft Auto 3.
Total Recall is a great movie. And Grand Theft Auto 3 is a great and influential game. These are
of 8.
This is critically acclaimed content that we are talking about.
All right. The budget for this movie was $15 million, and they made $35 million worldwide. So this character, B-Rad, originally appeared in Jamie Kennedy's hidden camera show called The Jamie Kennedy Experiment.
Jamie Kennedy plays B-Rad.
Yes. And according to Jamie Kennedy, the character is a spoof of Eminem's character in 8 Mile and started out in his stand-up comedy routines.
Oh, no. Oh, that makes so much sense because Eminem's character in 8 Miles called B-Rabbit.
It's been so long since I've seen that movie.
I've actually not seen 8 Mile.
What?
Yeah.
How do you know that then?
Because he, in the song from the movie, he says,
"Lose yourself."
Yeah. There's a line, "Be Rabbit." He says "Be Rabbit" in the lyrics of that song. I swear.
Okay. Double check that.
I am.
Also in the movie, B-Rad mentions the name Rob Van Winkle, and this is the real name of Vanilla Ice.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. So, references to rappers, to white rappers.
Oh, Vanilla Ice. Oh my God. My bad. I went to
picking up
Ice Cube.
And
I know that that's not Ice Cube's name. O'Shea Jackson. I'm sorry. Vanilla Ice. Right. Yes.
Yeah. Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Okay, well, anyway, you got any more facts?
Nope. And I did some digging this time, and I couldn't find anything other than a bunch of them were on Scream or Scary Movie. So.
Okay.
That's all.
I can't find the line about B-Rabbit. I just know it, okay?
I was like, when would I say that in that song?
I don't know. But I mean, everybody knows 8 Mile, even if they haven't seen it.
Look up 8 Mile B-Rabbit.
No, that's not gonna.
Why would that not pop? If that's his name in 8 Mile, it would pop up.
Yeah, but I'm looking for it as in the context of being a lyric. All right, I'm gonna look up 8 Mile B-Rabbit lyric. Yeah, it's like 8 Mile B-Rabbit versus Papa Doc lyrics. That's not gonna give me what I need.
Well, I just wanted to know if his name was B-Rabbit.
Oh no, his name is B-Rabbit. I know that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
but it's not in Lose Yourself.
Whether or not it is, I know it as a fact that is his character's name.
Mom Spaghetti.
Anyway,
let's do our swaps.
Oh wow, yeah, you called it a swap. Look at that. Let's swap some content.
Swap.
All right. So, do you want me to go first?
Why don't I go first? I feel like you've gone first for like the past few weeks.
Yes, this is true.
All right. Do you want... Okay. I thought I knew what I wanted to give you, but now I want to give you a choice.
Okay.
We can go in I have two polar opposites. I have an animated movie. That's kind of funny. Well, that is funny. And then I have
Is it kind of funny or funny?
It's funny. It's funny.
Is that its main thing is that it's funny?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have a very popular movie that is very weird and I don't know, kind of, I wouldn't say teetering on spooky season, but like, just very like, what is this? Like, oh my gosh.
Very popular movie that is weird.
Like, it's like a classic movie. Everyone knows this movie. And it's very weird. But you have not seen it.
Oh, interesting. Or a funny animated movie?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm leaning towards the classic movie. That's because if it's an animated movie that's kind of funny.
It's funny.
And I haven't seen it, then I doubt how funny it is.
It is funny. You just haven't seen it because
Is
you're
it Kung Fu
lame.
Panda?
No.
Okay. Because that is funny.
Kung Fu Panda is funny. I haven't watched Kung Fu Panda in a really long time.
Well, I want to know what the animated movie is, but I also don't want to watch it.
Okay. Great, because I don't think I wanted to watch it yet either.
Okay.
I think I want to hold on to it. So the popular movie that I want to give you is Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, okay. I don't agree with you that a lot of people know what that is.
Everyone freaking knows what Eyes Wide Shut is.
No, they
Babe.
don't. No, they don't.
Everyone knows Eyes Wide Shut.
No, they don't.
They may not have seen it, but they know what it is.
No, they don't.
It's literally so popular. It's Stanley Kubrick.
I know it's Stanley Kubrick's
Tom
last
Cruise,
movie.
Nicole Kidman.
A lot of people don't even know who Stanley Kubrick is.
What?
Like when you say everybody, you're talking.
Look up Stanley Kubrick's most popular movies, and I bet you Eyes Wide Shut is like top 3.
Okay. You made it sound like this was... I mean, people who know movies are going to know Stanley Kubrick, and they're going to know Eyes Wide Shut. You made it sound like a general audience member would know what Eyes Wide Shut is, and I disagree with that.
I think they do. I mean, I think they probably have not seen it, but I think they've been like, oh, I've heard about that movie because people are like, oh, that movie, you know? Like, I feel like it's a very like talked about movie. I feel like Eyes Wide Shut. Whoa.
Okay, I guess I don't know because I haven't seen the movie, so I guess I can't comment until I watch the movie.
All I'm saying is, I saw this movie when I was in high school, and the reason I watched it is because I was so sick and tired of hearing about everyone being like, "Have you seen Eyes Wide Shut? Have you seen Eyes Wide Shut? Eyes Wide Shut?" And I was like, I'm just gonna watch Eyes Wide Shut because like, what is so like shocking about this movie?
Okay, well, I had never even heard of Eyes Wide Shut until I did a literal report on Stanley Kubrick for a film class that I took the summer before my a film class I took online during the summer before my last year of college. And I was a big movie person, and that was the first time I heard of this movie.
I hate to break it to you, babe, but there's just some things you're out of the loop of. As much as you think you are a big movie person,
all right, whatever.
You missed out on a few.
Whatever. Oh my gosh.
What's that Frank Ocean lyric about Stanley Kubrick? Honestly, I feel like he has a few Stanley Kubrick lyrics.
As he should. Okay.
Yeah.
Eyes Wide Shut. All right. That, to me, kind of tells me what I should assign.
This movie came out September 3rd. Wow, right before my birthday. 1999.
Yeah.
That was the UK release date. Never mind.
Talk about a useless fact.
I will fight you.
Okay. If you're signing me that, then I am going to give you... Is it kind of mindy-bendy a little bit? Or just maybe not mindy-bendy, but like thriller, suspense, weird?
I'd say so. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to give you... I am also going to give you a thriller, suspense, weird.
Okay.
And it's animated.
Okay. Is it an anime or animated?
It is... I don't know if I would call... I mean, I guess you should technically call it an anime movie. It's an animated movie that was made in Japan. But I don't know. I don't normally think of like feature-length animation movies as anime. When I think of anime, I think of like serialized animated TV shows made in Japan. So
Demon Slayer movie you wouldn't consider anime?
Well, no, that's different because it's from that is an anime movie. That is what like an anime that has its own movies. Those are anime movies. This is just a movie that is animated that was made in Japan.
So Studio Ghibli movies, do you consider those anime?
No.
That's fair. I don't consider those anime either.
Okay, so this is that, but not made by Studio Ghibli.
Okay.
And it's called Perfect Blue.
Okay.
Like Akira. It's not an animated. That's not an anime movie.
I would consider that Aren't there manga? Isn't there a manga? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I feel like
right over there.
Yeah,
I've got it on the shelf.
I know, it's super big. I feel like if it's a manga, it's an anime movie.
That's fair. I don't think Perfect Blue was a manga. It's just a movie. It's directed by Satoshi Kon, who also made Paprika, as well as some other notable Japanese animated movies. And I hope I don't regret assigning this movie for some potentially disturbing content that might be in it.
Oh no, am I gonna be traumatized?
I don't think so, but I think it's got an interesting message. And there's
Does this need to be a content swap after dark?
What was yours? Eyes Wide Shut? Maybe.
It might need to be.
All right.
It might need to be.
It's been a while since we had one of those.
It has been a while.
All right. Well, let's do it then.
Cool. How do you say Stanley Kubrick?
You just said it. Well,
Kubrick.
Stanley
Kubrick.
Anyway, next week it's getting late. I think our lack of energy is showing. We both just yawned, yeah. All right, so next week it's going to be Eyes Wide Shut and Perfect Blue. That sounds like a good combination, I think.
I hope we have some good facts. I never have good facts for my movies because I choose like
factless movies.
Yeah, it's just like you get what you get. There's nothing you need to know about the making of this.
I think Eyes Wide Shut will have facts.
I think so too.
Because enough people know what it is.
They do. I'm telling you, everybody go look it up. First, no, comment in the comments if you know what Eyes Wide Shut is.
All right, cool.
I'm doing a poll on my Instagram.
I'm going to say that, okay, yeah, do that.
You too.
I will also do a poll on Instagram.
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, okay.
Because you've upset me.
My bad. All right. We'll see you next time for that. That ought to be fun. Happy content swapping. I don't know.
What are you talking about?
Okay. Bye.
Bye.